What's up, my fellow Michiganians, Michiganders, whatever you happen to call yourselves? Welcome to Wolverine State Sports Talk. Um, it's good that Cade Cunningham is playing tonight, but let's address the real elephant in the room. I think after this game, Jim Harbaugh and Michigan are at the crossroads. You just look at the fact that last season the team went 2-4, and maybe the expectations were as high coming into this season. But then you start the season 7-0. And then all of a sudden, it looks like everything's getting better. The defense isn't giving up the big plays. The offense actually can run the football. The Michigan is not committing penalties. They're not turning the football over. It seemed like this was the year that was going to be different. But unfortunately, it still seems like it's the same movie, where we get into these big games and just a few key mistakes or bad coaching decisions cost us the game. Going over this game, yes, there were bad calls in this game, but it doesn't change the fact that Michigan shot themselves in the foot way too many times with a lot of the things they did. Number one, when you have when you have double-digit lead twice, and you have a 9-point lead once, 3 separate times you have a 2-score lead, including a 16-point lead in the third quarter. You can't look at the referees and say that they're the reason we lost this game. Technically, that one call cost us 4 points and we lost by 4 points, yeah. But you know what? Michigan made too many mistakes. There were a lot of execution errors, such as getting that false start on the 4th and 1, Blake Corum dropping a wide open pass. Linebackers were out of position all day. Tackling was absolutely horrible. It seemed like, and then from the coaching staff perspective, putting J.J. McCarthy in the game there was absolutely stupid. When you consider the fact that Cade McNamara is having the game of his life, and that's how this offense is working. If Cade wasn't ready to go on that play, you hand the ball off. You don't put the ball in the hands of someone that fumbled earlier, and that was just a recipe for disaster. Michigan was up by 3. It's very likely we win the football game if we take care of business on that drive. So you look at that. You look at the fact that the defense was not ready for Michigan State's hurry-up offense. They continued to substitute despite the fact that Michigan State was running up-tempo. The fact is Michigan shot themselves in the foot with too many mistakes, and it's really kind of tragic because a lot of people, including myself, felt like this was going to be the Michigan team that was different because they weren't shooting themselves in the foot, making stupid mistakes, turning the football over. But we knew there were some flaws with this team that they needed to fix. Needed to fix the linebacking core. Didn't do that. Needed to work on red zone play calling. Didn't do that. Continued to jam the ball up the middle 3 times in a row, which terrible play calling from Josh Gaddis down inside the 20-yard line. And we had to settle for, 4 field goals? You can't win doing that. You score 1 touchdown, this game is different. It's a tie game. You know, you look at Anthony Edwards holding when he didn't need to hold. He had a great game today, but still, that one mistake that was completely unnecessary ruined our chances of getting a touchdown. So, I mean, it's a tough situation with Jim Harbaugh because he has done a great job with recruiting. And yes, I know Michigan kind of recruits itself, but Jim Harbaugh himself has done a great job bringing players in. And a lot of the players he brings in, they show flashes. I mean, they have talent. J.J. McCarthy has talent. Donovan Edwards has talent. A lot of these guys have talent. 3 or 4 or 5-star recruits. Michigan has been recruiting about as well as Clemson has, at least in the early Dabo years, at the very least. Absolutely no reason Michigan is incapable of getting to the Big Ten championship game in a 7-year span. And that's just it. That's where the problems start with Jim Harbaugh. They win the games they're supposed to win, but then when they face a team that's about equal with them, Jim Harbaugh very rarely wins. Usually the game's not even close. And today I still think Michigan was a slightly better team, but They found a way to lose because they made those little mistakes. And when Michigan State punched them in the mouth, they didn't punch back. That's simple. Nothing really you can complain about with, I can't even talk right now. But Michigan and Jim Harbaugh are at Crossroads, and I feel like that Ohio State game is more important than ever in the Jim Harbaugh tenure. You look at the fact that his buyout is not as expensive next year, and these donors, some of the wealthiest donors in college football, they're not going to continue to accept this. Michigan going 3-9 against Ohio State and Michigan State. At Michigan, that's unacceptable. And it's been 7 years. At some point, Harbaugh's got to turn this around. And I honestly feel like the leash is getting very, very thin. I feel like the Ohio State game might be the game for Jim Harbaugh's job. If Michigan finds a way to pull that out and they get an 11-win season, I think it's definitely worth keeping Jim Harbaugh around. But if he doesn't, the fan base will continue to grow impatient. The big losses will continue to stack up, and there's just kind of a purgatorious feeling around Michigan football that, yeah, we're good, but we're kind of stuck where we are. We're plateaued. Even with all the coaching changes, even with everything that we've done, even with a different play style, it still has the same exact result of beating the teams we're supposed to beat and then losing. And look, yes, the team went 2-4 last year, but that, to me, that season shouldn't even be considered when talking about Jim Harbaugh, because it was kind of a freak season, and the fact is Michigan had more talent than 2-4. They just simply weren't ready to play that season, and I can't really get too mad at anybody for that, because it was a weird year where you cancel the season, then you don't cancel the season. It does mess with your psyche. So, but I don't think that meant the expectation should have been lowered for this team, because this team clearly has a lot of talent, and they did last year too. Just didn't have the time to work stuff in practice. But this team has a lot of talent, and there's zero reason that they shouldn't have found a way to win today. But then again, little things, they catch up to you in these big games, and it's a tragedy, because if one of those plays is different, if Corum catches the ball, if Michigan scores 1 or 2 touchdowns instead of kicking those field goals, I think they win the game. It's really that simple. One or two of those little mistakes, and Michigan win, or maybe one of those big runs by Kenneth Walker, maybe the linebacker's not out of position and he makes the tackle, or the safety does his job. Michigan safeties are atrocious. They were awful today. Yes, sometimes running backs will get 10, 15 yards, but as a safety, your job is super important. You got to make sure they don't get to the end zone. And unfortunately, Walker, when he got past the front 7, it was game over. You got to do your job as a safety better than that. So I'll leave it at that. The Ohio State game is going to be super important. Michigan is probably going to have to win out if Jim Harbaugh wants to keep his job here. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you all for watching. Let's go Pistons. Win this game tonight. Take care.